You read trend reports to get ahead, but instead they make you reactive. Or did you actually change your strategy based on last year's trend reports? I didn't think so. Every year you get sent loads of trend reports. You skim them, screenshot a slide for Slack, and then 6 months later, your strategy looks exactly the same. Does this sound familiar? In this video, I'll show why trend reports make you reactive, and I'll give you 3 habits that actually make you future ready. Picture this. It's January at a leadership offsite. You have an overpriced coffee in your hand and someone clicks to that slide. Top 10 trends for 2026. Everyone nods knowingly and you sprinkle in a few buzzwords like AI first and resilience to the strategy document. And by June, nothing meaningful has changed. But nobody's stressed because, hey, we looked at the trends, checked that box, right? Those neat lists feel safe. If we prepare for these 5 things, we're covered. But here's the problem. The future never reads the PDF. Remember how many 2022 trend reports barely mentioned generative AI? Right before ChatGPT changed everything? Reality is messier than any list. Trend reports feel like control, but they actually make you less adaptive. The danger, you don't notice it. You feel informed, armed with your strategy deck, while your competitors are quietly experimenting. That warm, satisfied feeling you get scrolling through these decks, that's not foresight. That's fake certainty, and it's a trap. And here's where it gets worse. Once you've bought into that fake certainty, something else quietly kicks in. Think about the last time your team talked about the future. Did someone say, hey, McKinsey just dropped their 2026 report? Or Deloitte says this is the year of X? You share the PDF, a few people react, and within an hour, everyone is back in their inbox. On paper, you did strategy work. In reality, nobody's brain was stretched for more than 5 minutes. Nobody actually practiced foresight. You just consumed it. And if your picture of the future only refreshes when Gartner or Forrester drops a new deck, you're not future ready. You've outsourced your curiosity. That pattern, waiting for someone else to gift wrap the future for you, quietly turns you into a passive consumer instead of an active thinker. But wait, there's a third problem. Even when you do act on these reports, they're training your brain in a dangerously narrow way of thinking about change. Take remote work. 5 years ago, it sat as a bullet under technology trends. But what actually reshaped your world wasn't just Zoom. It was a global pandemic, emergency policy changes, a cultural reckoning about work-life balance, empty skyscrapers, all colliding at once in ways nobody predicted. Yet most trend decks still neatly slice reality into tidy boxes. Future of work on slide 12, future of health on slide 18, future of cities on slide 23. Real disruption doesn't stay in those boxes. It lives in the messy collisions between them. Tech, policy, culture, environment colliding in ways no single trend slide can describe. And that's exactly where most trend decks have a massive blind spot, which is why you need a completely different approach. That comforting idea that you can track each thing in its own neat lane, moving in straight lines you can forecast from a graph, that's the illusion of linear thinking. If any of this is hitting a little too close to home, if you're recognizing your own team in these patterns, I've built something practical to help you break out of it. I've put together a free horizon scanning email course that walks you through how to build these habits into your week, step by step, in about 10 minutes at a time. If you want a lightweight, practical way to stay ahead of signals without drowning in reports, you can grab it via the link in the description and in the first comment below. Okay, so if trend reports won't make you future ready, what actually will? Future ready teams don't just consume the future like content, they practice it like a skill. Let me show you 3 tiny habits you can build without a 60-page report. Imagine your next leadership meeting. Instead of asking, what's most likely to happen, you pause and ask, give me 3 radically different ways AI could reshape our market, not just the obvious one. You name each scenario, sketch out 2 to 3 bullets for each, and keep all 3 visible on the whiteboard while you make real decisions. That's what I call structured uncertainty. Structured uncertainty means admitting you don't know which future will happen, but refusing to be blind to the options. Instead of chasing the right forecast, you deliberately hold multiple contrasting futures in view at the same time. That makes your strategy less fragile, less brittle, because you're not betting everything on one guess about the future. It also exposes hidden assumptions lurking in your team's thinking. assumptions you didn't even realize you were all making. The goal isn't to be certain, it's to be ready across a wide range of possibilities. So that's the mindset shift. But here's the thing, mindset without a dead simple routine, it dies in a week. Let's turn this into something stupidly simple. 10 minutes, once a week, that's it. Once a week, take 10 minutes, write down 3 things you've noticed this week. A customer requesting something weird, a new policy proposal that feels a little bit off, a competitor launching something that makes no sense. Actually, pause this video right now. Seriously, hit pause. And write down one weird thing you noticed this week and ask, if this grew 10x, what would it change for us? Boom. You just did foresight work. That's scanning. A scanning habit transforms you and your team from passive report readers into active sensors, picking up weak signals in real time. It's light, regular, and woven into your normal work, not a once-a-year workshop. Over time, those little weekly notes create a richer picture of how your environment is shifting. You start connecting dots earlier, and those weird little anecdotes stop getting dismissed as random noise in meetings. That's the raw material real strategic foresight is built on. Now, you're not sitting around waiting for the next Bane deck, you are the early warning system. And if you want a bit of gentle structure and prompts for that weekly scan, that free email course I mentioned gives you exactly that, one small exercise at a time. But catching single signals, that's just level 1. The real magic, the part most teams never get to, happens when those signals interact. This is where it gets really interesting and where most disruptive opportunities are actually hiding in plain sight. Let's say you've noticed AI tools getting stupidly cheap in one scan, and new data regulation proposals in another. Collisions thinking is deceptively simple. You ask, what happens when these two forces slam into each other? Collisions thinking is about looking at how changes interact, not just how they move in isolation. Most disruptions don't come from a single trend marching forward in isolation. They come from 2 or 3 forces colliding in ways nobody saw coming. When you systematically ask, what happens if these collide? You spot second-order effects and opportunities your competitors are completely blind to. It rewires your brain to see systems and connections, not just isolated headlines floating past. When you look at connections between weak signals or trends on purpose, you've moved beyond straight lines and started working with collisions thinking. And that's exactly where the most original, defensible, hard-to-copy strategies are hiding. So here's your challenge this week. Don't download another trend report. Instead, do this. Sketch 3 different futures for one topic that matters to your business. Spend 10 minutes scanning and writing down what you notice. Pick 2 signals and ask, what happens if these collide? Do those 3 things for 4 weeks straight, and I guarantee you'll be more strategically prepared than 90% of teams drowning in 60-page consultant decks. And if you're thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually turn this into a system I'll stick to? That's exactly what I walk you through step by step in this video here. I walk you through a 10-minute horizon scanning system and a 3-minute tool you can use to stay ahead of trends without wrecking your workflow.